All right, today we're going to be doing a deep dive into a Google Ads account. And what's going to be really fun is we're going to start off with some great news. We're going to dig in and try to figure out what's the data that supports the great news, and then come out with some insights and some takeaways. And I think that actually the story of how this went was actually I think this was very helpful for the business owner to be able to dive deeply in. I think one of the takeaways, I'm going to say it now, is it is beneficial to have an agency with you, working alongside of you, getting clarity in what's actually happening in my Google Ads, because that actually it is kind of hard work to try to figure out what's going on in your Google Ads account. But without further ado, I'm going to hop right in. So this is basically one of the we did not do Google Ads for this client. This is actually a client that we just really like, and they kind of came in with some questions, and they're like, hey, we're not sure how we feel. We are doing Google Ads right now, but we're not sure how we feel about it. We don't really know what's coming from it. Can you help us, right? So it's like, okay, cool. So what we did is we decided to put in our tracking system, which includes call tracking, which includes form submission tracking, which includes making sure all that data actually hits the CRM with clarity, so that way we can look at their CRM and say, okay, this lead and these dollars really they came from this Google Ads campaign, and they came from actually this ad group and things like that. Like, we can get very, very specific utilizing UTMs. So we put all that into play. What was actually great is this client was already utilizing call tracking, and I think that was very important that they had that. No change in that. No changes had to be made to the Google Ads, and so they were actually utilizing a software, and they already had that set up. And so what we did is we said, okay, we're going to capture the month of August. We're going to say August is the month that we're going to try to pull all the data, and so you're going to let things run for the month of August, and we are going to pull the data after the fact. So what that looks like is basically we do an export from their call tracking, and it looks like this big old sheet with a bunch of names and a bunch of numbers. And basically what this shows us is all the different opportunities. Some of these are going to be outbound calls, and some of these are going to be duplicates and things like that, which is okay. But basically we need the source. We need the source of information, and this is all through the entire month of August. Now, they utilize a specific tracking number for Google Ads campaigns, and so this is the only one this is the only phone number that people had when they saw one of these Google Ads, when they were prompted to go do a call to action or things like that. Because this client was specifically using Performance Max campaigns, there's not as much traffic that goes to the website. It is a lot more of actually call action. So we do have the website as well, and so what we did is we actually swapped out their forms, and we implemented UTM tracking onto their form submissions. That way, also we can see which form submissions are happening from somebody coming from an organic visit or coming from a paid visit, like Performance Max campaigns, things like that. And so this is the export from all the phone calls, and here's the export actually from all of the form submissions. So what you can see here is you have UTM source, medium campaign, G-CLID, that's the Google Click ID. That's really important. That's kind of like a signature that if somebody clicked on your Google ad and navigated to the website, that Google Click ID comes with them. You don't naturally just get this information all the time on form submissions because of some of the software and some of the systems that we put in place for our clients. We do capture this data for them, and we also capture this data as well, which is really, really important. And so what that does is that gives us clarity of these people who filled out these forms on these days, they all for sure came from Performance Max. We also have on this sheet, these people who called on this day at this time, they for sure came from Performance Max, okay? So with that, we have a very good picture of what's going on. And then what we do is we do a download from the CRM, and we say, okay, we have all these names from the call tracking. We have all these names from the form submissions. Now let's match that up with the names, the emails, the phone numbers that are in the CRM. So that way we can start to attribute dollars to those names. We can start to attribute dollars to the Performance Max campaign. So bunch of Python scripts later, we have a nice little pivot table where basically we get to say with confidence, with a lot of confidence, that this business was investing $2,264 into their Performance Max campaign, and they got $17,460 back, which gives you a ROAS, or return on ad spend, of 7.71, which is, to be honest, phenomenal. That's a really great ROAS. That is something that it's like, okay, at least I'm putting money in, I'm getting money back. And so that was great. And so I was happy to share that. It's like, hey, we did our thing, we did our tracking. Now you have the visibility as an owner. But I did want to dig in because Performance Max campaigns is a little bit of a black box. And so there is, what's great is actually as of August this year, we actually do get a little bit more insights. We get a little bit more clarity from Google Ads on what exactly is happening in the Performance Max campaigns. And so I went ahead and I went a step further and I said, okay, we know the final number. We know the ROAS, which is great. At least, it's not losing money, it's gaining money. Now, how is it actually helping? How is it actually working? And so that's where we start to dig into the Google Ads campaigns. So now, this is their Google Ads account. You got all this data. They only had one campaign live during this month, and it was this Performance Max campaign. You can see they had 496 clicks and 65 conversions. Cost per conversion is that's phenomenal, but it's kind of standard for like a Performance Max or like a multi-network campaign. If you're running a search campaign, that cost per conversion will be much higher. But 65 conversions, so it's like, okay, well, let's see actually what's going on. And so what's great is when we go into the campaigns, we can see there's this Leaps Performance Max. We can see a breakdown of kind of some other things as well. Obviously, it's max conversions because it's Performance Max and things like that. So what I wanted to kind of share, what I realized is that this Performance Max campaign has a couple different asset groups. So the way that Performance Max works is you kind of create these asset groups and you say, hey, I kind of want to target these keywords. You don't really put a keyword list inside the campaign setup. You actually are like kind of generally going, hey, I'm going after this because Google is going to decide how this ad shows for what kind of people who are maybe looking for those keywords, or they're maybe looking for that service, right? So it is still a little bit of a black box. But the way it works is you create these asset groups and you say, okay, the way that they did their setup is basically they said asset group search themes, asset group competition search themes, and then asset group moving soon. This moving soon is very, very minimal traffic. So I would just encourage you, we're going to go ahead and ignore that. We're actually going to filter those out and we are going to, we can't just look at the ones that are bummer. So that's it. We're not going to be able to do that. So we're going to focus on these search themes and competition search themes, which really kind of dominate, and they kind of have the market share of like the amount of conversions, because you can see there's 62 conversions here out of the total 65. So we're going to focus on these. Now, you're looking around and you're saying, okay, inside this Performance Max campaigns, I can see a pretty even breakdown of the cost spend. I can see a pretty good cost for conversion across both of these asset groups. Clicks is like this. These are performing very, very similarly, which is great. There's a couple missing opportunities, like there's no audience and stuff like that. There's a couple low-hanging fruit for this client that I did point out, and I will share that a little bit later. But it's like, okay, there's a couple asset groups here. Now, what's actually going on? Well, 2 months ago, it's October 14th. So 2 months ago, Google gave us a lovely little thing here called channel performance. So this is kind of new. And this gives us an idea of like, how exactly is the Performance Max campaign performing? And so basically what you have is you have a breakdown of like all the different type of ads, right? And so what you have is Discover Ads, which is like basically just side panel on the Google app or whatever. And it's like random ads that just show up. And that's like, that's tough for a mover. For moving companies, that's tough. If you own a product, that's totally different. I think there's lots of opportunities for you. But like as far as like Discover, Display, like these are very like, you are marketing to people who might not necessarily be anywhere close to moving or looking for a moving company. Then there's Gmail, there's Maps, and that is the low-hanging fruit. So actually there's zero interactions, there's zero impressions from Maps, and that's actually because this business actually did not connect their Google business profile. And I'll just say this very, very clearly. If you are running Performance Max and you're a moving company owner, you should 100% connect your Google business profile to that Performance Max campaign, so that way you can use it as a location asset. What that looks like is out of this rotation, you see all these different channels: Discover, Display, Gmail, Maps, Search, YouTube. Google decides where this ad is going to show and who it's going to show to. But at least if you have the Maps, you know that it's going to be hitting this slot here. So I did a search Phoenix movers, and it hits this slot here on the map pack. And so this is actually really valuable for you as a moving company owner, because this is actually where people are moving. That's where they're looking for a moving company. That's where they're making decisions as well. That's why you would do SEO to show up in the map pack. But also there is one of the slots here that's here for the map pack ad, which comes only from Performance Max campaign. You can't run a map pack ad only. You actually have to run Performance Max. You have to settle for your ads being shown all the other channels, but the hope is that you're getting some actual conversion, some actual traffic out of the Maps asset. This client's not utilizing that. I did pass that information over to them saying, hey, low-hanging fruit, you can go ahead and get this connected. And I think that you'll become even more profitable because you'll have your ad will start to show in the map pack area, which is pretty prime real estate, right? But you can see that the majority, 99% of the cost came from the Google search ads. So kind of a yellow flag. You're running a performance max campaign, but actually 99% of your cost is coming from search ads. Well, that's probably a great signal that it's actually like, that's where the decisions are being made, and maybe you should be running search ads, not performance max. But there's a time and a place for performance max, and I do think you're going to need the maps to make it work pretty well. Anyways, we're going to get more into the data. So I'm kind of giving all this information to the owner, and I'm saying, hey, look at this breakdown in channels. But you can see actually impressions are all like this, but you can actually see the flow here. The only results, the only actual conversions that happened, we did have an issue with the form tracking, which is unfortunate. It's only a problem on the Google ad side of things. Obviously, I showed you that we have the form tracking taken care of on the actual website end, but we did not have the conversion action taken care of when they came to us. They had some different settings for the form submission, so we didn't get that logged in here. It's not ideal, but it's also not the end case scenario. We have the final data. We have like the actual, like, this is what you got from form submissions, right? It's this breakdown here. All right, so they got this during the month of August, which is, it's great to see. But you can see that all the phone calls came only from search. You can see nothing came from Discover, Display, and YouTube. So at this point, it's like, okay, everything came from search. Let's go ahead and get an understanding of like what is actually going on. So again, we are still at the point where it's a 7 times ROAS. Awesome, phenomenal. Put $1 in, get $7 back, yoo-hoo. But what you want to do, or what you want to make sure that your agency is doing, you want to make sure they are looking at what actually those conversions are coming from. And so basically when you come into the search term report up here, you're going to get a whole list of like, these are the search terms that we're actually like providing value in regards to the Google Ads performance. And so you can see obviously all these are coming from the Performance Max. You can see there's a lot of keywords in here because it's kind of general. It's kind of showing to a lot of people. There's a little bit of data that unfortunately Google is hiding. We don't have access to this. I'm not able to unbury this. I'm not able to dig this out. It is gone. I don't see it. I don't know where it came from. What I do know is that there's 40 conversions here that I do have visibility on. And of those 40 conversions, you have a nice breakdown of which key terms actually drove some of the conversions that we're looking at. And again, at the end of the day, clicks, CTR, average CPC, those are all great like leading KPIs, but those are not like your most important KPIs when it comes to Google Ads. You need to really focus on what's actually driving conversions. What is my cost for conversion? And conversion rate's obviously a great metric to tell you like the actual performance of the ads. So I'm going to filter down by conversions, and we can see that number one search term drove the most conversions over this time frame by a landslide was actually the brand name. This is actually the brand name here. And so you have 13 of 40, which we do the nice quick math. 13 divided by 40 is 33%. So 33% of the value of this Google Performance Max campaign came from the brand name. And I haven't even gone down. There's another conversion down here. There might be a couple other variations down here. So that's really important to know. Again, still have a great ROAS. You have $1 in, $7 out, but 33% of your dollars out, 33% of your performance came from your own brand name. And so that's something for you as a business owner. There's lots of reasons to do it. There's lots of reasons not to do it. You kind of just need to decide what you want to do and what makes sense for your business. I would say if you have great organic visibility, that's probably a good idea to run some branded campaigns, because SEO, like brand visibility organically, is really, really hard to come by. And there's a lot of businesses that don't have the time, the patience, the resources to build out their brand over 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, right? And so the best way to get into the search, into the top of search, is Google Ads. And they might be trying to feed off of actually your brand name and your brand visibility that you've built out through blood, sweat, and tears by working with Road to Digital, right? So you kind of have to decide what you want to do as a business owner. Do you want to run branded campaigns or not? If so, I do not actually recommend running brand campaigns out of Performance Max. I do not think that makes sense. I think actually you can do a lot more controlling of the conversion cost for your brand name in a isolated search campaign that is specific for branded keywords. And it points to the home page, and everything is nice and easy to see. It's trackable. You can push and pull the levers if you want. When it's kind of a part of the Performance Max, you're kind of subject to whatever Google decides. And unfortunately, Google's going to try to give you kind of whatever's easiest and try to pocket as much as it can. And so unfortunately, we do see that 13 of the 40, 33% of the conversions came from at least this one branded key term. There are others as well that are riddled throughout this list. Now, all that to say, there are still some conversions that came out of this. So there's a couple of competitive, like competitor keywords, which are really, really great. Like 2 men in a truck, you got 3 conversions out of that. U-Haul, you got 2 conversions out of that. 2 guys in a truck. That's great. That's feeding off of other brand names, franchise brand names. You get to come in and say, man, we are a local moving company that really knows what you need. You shouldn't be looking towards U-Haul, or you shouldn't be looking towards 2 men in a truck and all this stuff, right? You have your way. You have your sales team to be able to handle those objections and stuff like that. My worry is that those conversions wouldn't actually lead to actual opportunities. It would be more like mistakes and kind of like, oh, I thought I was getting in touch with U-Haul, or I thought I was talking to 2 men in a truck. I really need to go with them because of XYZ reasons, right? So that is one of the downfalls of Performance Max. Also, is you're not able to get you're not able to bring keyword data into the next level, because what you then could do is you could actually get into like the call tracking. You could actually get into the form tracking. You can actually see keywords that are coming in. So like on search campaigns, that's actually very easy to do, where you see what keyword drove this person to your website. And so that's usually, it's a lot easier to see on the search ad campaigns than on the Performance Max campaigns. So I gave all this information. I said, hey, realistically, 1 to 7, this is great. You're putting $1 in, you're getting $7 out. On the other hand, you're actually spending a lot of money on your own brand name. And so if that's something that you want to do, I do recommend kind of isolating that as its own cost, running a branded search campaign, and then maybe trying to actually refine the Performance Max campaign and trying to get that location asset added in. So that way you are actually marketing to new people. The cost per click is so low, right? It's because Google's kind of just picking and choosing where this goes. And so the cost per click is low. So the risk is low. You are only spending $2,000 a month. But if running those campaigns on your brand name is not what you want to do, then there is some management, there is some refinement that needs to happen. And so fun enough, actually, the client actually said, thank you so much. This was so insightful. Let me think about it. I'd love to like kind of connect with you guys and dig into it more. And so we did that. And actually, funny enough, they decided that actually we don't want to do Google Ads right now. Like we're gonna tone it down. We're coming out of the summer season. We don't want to be doing this anymore. So they actually shut all this off, which is funny. But I do think actually that probably they did that because they're like, yeah, maybe I'm not super comfortable with bidding on my own brand name right now at this point, going into the winter season, whatever the case may be. But that's just, I think that's a really great, and I think that's a really great walkthrough of like Performance Max campaigns and Google Ads, right? But I think it's this was a good opportunity, and this was really fun for us to be able to just come alongside them. We're not getting paid for it. It's just more of like a value add, and it's like, hey, you're an SEO client. We're here to take care of you. We know that this is confusing. We know that this is hard to see. Let us help. And so this is actually something that we actually do now for almost even any of our new clients that come to us with for Google Ads help. Actually, if they're running campaigns and if there's kind of this confusion or this ambiguity of like, I don't know what my Google Ads is doing right now, we actually don't do much. We actually say, okay, we're going to go ahead and put it in a little break, and we're going to try to say, let's establish actually what the reality is, because Google Ads might say one thing, but it might not match what's happening actually inside your business. We have so many examples of that where it's like Google Ads says one thing, it says 1,400 conversions, but I have only 200 form submissions, right? And so I think that this was a great, I think this is a great example of how much we do care, of like how much we do dive into the data to try to like just make sure you have all the data that you need to make wise decisions with your business investments. This is a big deal. This is a smaller scope. I would just argue this is a smaller scope. This is a $2,000 investment. It's a big deal. I'm not going to say it's nothing, but it's obviously not like, it's not a $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 ad spend budget that can make or break a business. And the problem is, unfortunately, we have clients even that we're with and we're serving them with Google Ads now that they were actually wasting $20,000 monthly when they came to us. They spent $96,000 and they actually only got $96,000 back, which is actually a loss realistically as a business, because then you're not growing in any way, shape, or form. Obviously, there's maybe some repeat referrals that come from those jobs that you completed, but that's not a great trade in and a trade out. And so that's one of the things I felt like that was helpful. I know it's a super long video, but I hope that this was helpful for you. Takeaways are: call tracking is really important. That comes in clutch. You're going to want to make sure that you have lead attribution systems in place. If you're working with us, we've got that taken care of you. If you're not working with us, then you just challenge your agency to get that taken care of for you. I'm not going to say it's not difficult. I'm not going to say it is difficult. I'm just saying they can do it. And you should challenge them, and you as a business owner should say, okay, I at least at minimum need to know on a marketing level, or maybe it's not you, maybe it's somebody that you trust on your team, that it's like they at least need to know where are we at with organic search? Where are we at with paid search? Like, are we getting an ROI on our investments in marketing? Because that's pretty crucial. And there's a lot of opportunities out there. So don't settle for the ambiguity. Don't settle for necessarily crappy ROI or crappy ROAS on your ad spend. Takeaway number 2. It is really, really helpful to have an agency that is helping you manage Google Ads. I think that Google Ads is it's fun, and there's a little bit of like tangible, like, oh, it's like playing around. It's like a playground, right? On the flip side, there's a lot of opportunities for you to fall. There's a lot of opportunities to fall off the swing, to try to jump onto the wall, but then you just end up slipping and stuff. And there's a lot of opportunities to waste a lot of money in Google Ads. And so I do think it's very important to have an agency, at least to partner alongside with you, to help give you some insights and to help bring like at least some perspective. So that way then you can look at it and make a wise decision. Whether you're going to do Google Ads with that agency or with a different agency, doesn't matter. As long as you have the insights and you have the understanding and the clarity of like, I know that Google Ads is giving me this, right? I know that my ROAS for the last 3 months was, I put in $5,000 and I got 15, or I put in $6,000 and I got 24. Those are 3 and 4 times ROAS. So it's like, that's great. That's a baseline. I know that that's at least what I'm getting. I don't want to go anything below that. And I only want to improve that. Do you have any ideas? Do you have any recommendations on how to do that? So I hope that this was helpful for you and valuable. And if you have any questions, you can always follow up with us. Thanks.